Hello.
it does?
Well, it has a red light on it. Does that mean the battery's going?
That might.
I think that
I
means
think that means it's on.
Let me start by giving a big thank you to Kristen for being here today.
Thank you. It's very fun to be here. It's always strange to preach in that pulpit because I grew up right here in these pews, and
Right.
I was like, this is where Pastor Larry is supposed to be.
And I want to give our thanks also to everybody at All Saints for all the hard work that you're already doing. And we're anxious to, a few of us have, including Christy Koppel, have been starting to learn a little bit about this, and we're anxious to see what greater involvement we can
Wonderful.
get from members of St.
Right,
Paul.
yeah.
Thank you.
So we're just here to invite assistance in just a number of different ways. And I say we because Ray and Patrick Vandemotter came with me, and I'm going to just let you guys, kind of heard my story. I have done a few, I've served meals. I've done the overnight. For the first couple nights when it's full, they just like to, the hotel says, can one of you be on site just in case something would go wrong? So I've just done the overnights, and then maybe you have to get up at 5 in the morning and run to the airport. But Patrick and Ray have been very involved. Patrick is a retired ELCA pastor who joined our church last year, and we are so blessed to have both of them. Ray is the director of our outreach.
And preached at St. Paul
And
once
preached
already.
here once. So y'all have met Patrick once, but some of y'all. So I'm just gonna let them. They're both on. You just got to hold it way up there, and I'm
Okay.
just gonna let them
Check.
kind
1,
of
2.
share what they have done, and then we'll just take whatever questions you guys have.
Check 1, 2.
Thank you for coming back.
Check 1, 2.
There we go.
Yes, thank you for coming back. We were worried there for a sec.
Takes a minute to get coffee and sweets.
You know, as Pastor shared, when God gives us this command to serve others, it's just an amazing experience, the gift you get back. I cannot tell you, having been, my husband and I have been on mission trips in Africa, in Zambia, and which is one of the poorest countries in the world. We worked in the bush, served families. When I walked onto the bus a few weeks ago and saw these people with families and babies literally locked in the bus because they were coming from ICE, I prayed to God. I almost fell to my knees. And so many people can tell so many different stories. So I just wanted to share that one little tidbit with you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Patrick Vandemotter. I am actually for the beta team, or if you wish, asylee seeker advocates.
Okay. I hadn't picked up that new
there's
name yet. Okay.
Probably more names coming. Who knows? Beta team is what we've been known as. So I'm the lead on the food service. We call it room service because we go to each and every room of all the asylum seekers that come in and give them dinner, breakfast. Actually, the hotel helps out on the breakfast, and lunch, and they're catered for lunch and dinner. We have a caterer, and I can't remember their names.
Me either.
Something, but his name is Sean, and he does a wonderful job. He's also been doing it since January for the other team too. And it's just, so I kind of liked being on the food team because you get to see every single family as they come by, as to their rooms, and it's always a blessing to do that. I also am able to hand out water as they come off the bus, but we've been noticing lately that they've had water with them
That's nice.
from the bus. And before this, like 3 weeks ago, they didn't even have that. They were just dying of thirst. And so
We also
made-
hand out electrolytes
Yeah.
with the water so that they can just pour it right into the water, and it's safe even for children, not for babies. But so many of them come with headaches and they're hungry, and so we want to get food and electrolytes to them as quickly as we possibly can. I'm a retired RN, and so
Pediatric already.
yeah, pediatrics, so my love is children. But one of the things that we also do, Pastor mentioned in her sermon, was we hand out little stuffed animals to all of the kids. My first experience with that was there was a bench right before where the water and the fruit and the food was being handed out as they came off the bus into the lobby. And you could see the children's eyes light up, staring at that clear box. And by the time they got to me, they had already picked out that animal, usually at the very bottom of the box, but they wanted that one. And it was just so much fun to watch them and have this little stuffed animal that probably cost us $1, who knows. It was just amazing to see. And there are lots of families that come. These are not, men on buses all by themselves. They're legal asylum seekers. They are not illegals. They have sponsors. They've been cleared by ICE. And I think that's a very important thing, because if people will ask you, why are you helping these asylum seekers? It's important to know that they are not illegals. They are not the ones that are trying to cross the border illegally. They are coming directly to ICE, and they are being cleared.
And these are not just, we find very few Mexicans who come across. We find many more people from Colombia, Venezuela, even Cuba, and other countries, in South America too, but other countries also include Turkey, Russia, Ukraine, and Brazil.
Haiti.
There's many Brazil
A lot of
and
families
Haiti.
from Haiti.
A lot of families from Haiti, and I know a little bit of French. They don't speak French. They speak Creole.
French-ish.
They,
Creole,
yeah, French-ish is right. And they are all looking for something better that they left behind. And that's why they're coming here. And I remember seeing the pictures of my great-grandfather, Jacob Vandermatter. I'm sure he pronounced it different because he was German, and they left there because it was getting pretty nasty right before World War I, and came over in the 1890s. So I am a great-grandson of immigrants. Of course, unless you're like Lightfoot or some other name like that that the Native Americans used, we are all immigrants. We came from somewhere else, somewhere back in our line. The people who are native are, we won't get into that.
But they're not, yeah.
Yeah.
As Bishop Jim likes to talk about how the Lutheran Church is a church that really has close connection to our immigrant roots. We hold very dearly to our Norwegian and Danish and Swedish heritage in many places, and German. And so just that gives us as Lutherans a particular compassion for this ministry, which the Lutheran Church has been doing for decades. But so I would love to ask if y'all have any questions. I can talk a little more about the roles, what we're looking for. We have both some certain volunteer needs, but also the other thing that we very much need is donations. Clothes, new or gently used, just basic casual clothes, and shoes. Like tennis shoes, flats, but comfortable to go in an airport. Really, they're coming in those little flip-flops that are like a dime at the dollar. So we give them something that they can walk through airports and wear for a little while. And it's hard to keep up. There are weeks that we go in there on Saturday and say, well, if we get a busload of men, we're going to have to buy 20 T-shirts because we do not have it.
And we got a busload of just men.
Just men, yeah.
So I left the list of what our needs are for donations with Will, and I'm sure he'll make copies of it and be able to hand it out to folks. But we really need lightly used clothing. T-shirts only with no writing on them. There's lots of things on the list that need to be new, such as underwear.
Underwear, bras, camisoles,
Socks.
yeah, need to be new. And so there are various donation centers. We talked a little bit. So I met with Paul and my dad and Pastor Koppel a few weeks ago, and we talked about possibly receiving donations here. Also, they can be taken to Second Presbyterian. They have like this huge room that's just shelves where they keep all that. So one volunteer need is people who just process donations. So on Saturday, 10 to 12, and Monday and Wednesday, 4 to 6, their volunteers come in, take everything out of the plastic bags, they fold it, they, shelve it according to size and all that. If that is, it's a way to serve, not being there at the hotel with folks, but kind of a behind the scenes service that's very much needed. So if that is of interest, we can certainly get you on that team. And then we do have the people who serve meals. We really need bilingual folks. If any of you know Spanish, French, Portuguese, Russian,
Turkish.
Turkish, yeah.
Family and friends, if you have anybody.
Or you know someone who might do, because that intake really needs to be a fluent Spanish speaker. We can get by with food. They say even at the airport, Google Translate is an awesome little program that can, I say something and my phone says it back to him in Turkish, and then he says something. But for the intake, that's like the government. We need to get everybody's names exact for flights and all that stuff. You've got to have a fluent speaker. And that's the person who do you have medical needs? Are there other things that we need to help you with?
They've taken their medication away from them in ICE, and they need to get, if they've been taking it, they need to get them right away. So we have some people who are able to write prescriptions, and we run up to the pharmacies, wherever they are, and bring back those for them. So there was a need for that. There's also a need to transport these folks to the airport and through the airport. So a lot of walking for that, but you're given because they are not English speakers, you're given a card that you can actually escort them all the way to their gate. And this is, something we need.
Yeah, my little story. And then we really don't have any volunteers to do that on our team yet. So I was signed up the other day, and I preach often about being called to step outside of our comfort zone. And as my shift approached, I found myself very nervous. And I'm very nervous trying to deal with someone who speaks a different language. Even just the food service, it just made me really anxious. And I thought, I don't even know exactly what I'm supposed to do with the security and all that. And I thought, so here's my chance to practice what I preach and get well outside my comfort zone. I didn't actually get any families that afternoon. We have a director who is paid not as much as she works probably, but she's paid by a grant from First Presbyterian Church. Her name is Astarte Moreno, and she has been doing some of that airport work herself. And so she called, she said, I've just got one family, you don't need to come. So it was kind of a disappointment and but I'm gonna do it. I said, Astarte, you're gonna train me and we're gonna do this. So do you have questions?
Where do you get the money for the medicine and that? Is that something that?
Yes, absolutely. Financial donations as well. We buy like the snacks when they arrive, and when they head off on the airplane, we send them with a bag of snacks. And we have to buy like medications, formula, often we have to go out to get. And then like if we get a week where, on Monday afternoon, we are all out of men's t-shirts, then we have a fund to go. So yeah, financial donations are very welcome. We do right now, the city is using FEMA money to pay the hotel and catering costs. So I don't know if that's an indefinite thing, but that's how it is working now, and that's really nice that we're getting that support from the city. So we don't have to pay all the hotel rooms, but we do pay for a lot of those incidentals and we just have to have kids' shoes.
And we
So-
also have to pay for the hotel rooms. Like one hotel room becomes the clothing
office,
store.
yeah.
And then a second hotel room is the admin room. It's kind of where, all the intake paperwork and printer is, and the medications are all there. So an admin room and the clothing room. And we try not to be there, like the clothing room is only open for 2 or 3 days. So we don't have to pay for that. But sometimes, sometimes the asylum seekers are gone the very next day.
Sometimes the asylum seekers have a flight at 7 o'clock
Yeah.
that evening.
Right. I mean, they have their own phone. Some of them bring a phone.
Yes.
That apparently ICE doesn't take, because some of them have a phone and they make their arrangements and they come and say, we're heading to the airport now. We're like, oh, bye. But most need more assistance. Also, the city is provides a computer, an internet connection, the printer. So there's this whole kind of tech setup. So there is support coming from the city. That felt good to me to know that the city was kind of quietly supporting this effort as well. So.
And for the other team, I know they were getting some kinds of money from St. Teresa. Is that?
So that's
Is
kind
it
of their
donation?
fiscal agent.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
ours is going to be First Presbyterian. So if you want to make financial donations, we also have a GoFundMe, but I think that's specifically
For
for
travelers.
There have been just a few folks who get here, and the family that maybe a year ago said, yes, we can get your travel and support you. A lot's changed in a year, and so just a few times the families have said we cannot do $1,600 in plane tickets, and so we've helped with the flights. But it amazes me how many. These are family mostly. It's your nephew or your niece or your son and daughter who are coming across, and it's just a lot of excitement to get them to your home. So.
We don't like to give that information out because there are some people who would like to protest.
So yeah. Well, if you sign up as a volunteer, we'll get you up
you
there.
that
It's up near the airport, and it's just really convenient. And they have been amazing, the hotel staff.
And then if you volunteer, we ask for like a 4-hour time slot. So like for the meals, delivering meals, getting there before, doing the setup and delivering that. So it's a 4-hour time slot. It's not like it's a 12-hour day, although some people stay for
Start
12
hours.
hours. And you can do it once, or you can do it a couple times during that week that the asylum seekers are still there. So things change. We use email and text to communicate with each other. So, if you are interested, you can sign up and let us know.
Did we ever get a sign-up page?
I do have a sign up.
Of course she does, because she's the organized one. Thank you, Ray. I got back from Rainbow Trail at like 6 o'clock last night, so that's my excuse. I'm not organized yet. Also, folks to help. We had to have people, so we will get a call from ICE if all goes well. A couple weeks ago it did not, but when things happen as they should, they load up a bus, and then ICE calls Astarte and says, it's families this week. You have 12 families. That's all, but at least we know that. And then we go to the clothes closet and pack just, like all kids sizes and women's clothes and stuff. Or they might say it's all men, so we know we just need a lot of men's clothes. A couple weeks ago, they never got in touch with us. We're like, okay, I guess maybe the bus is coming later. Like we put all the volunteers off, don't come, and then the bus pulled in. And the start day's like, hi, let me call my volunteers. So, you never know.
Our
and that's why I
earliest
say
bus came in
flexibility.
before 2 o'clock.
Right.
And the one came as late as 8:30.
8:30.
And the other
So-
thing about volunteers is your shift may start at 2 o'clock, but like Pastor Kristen said, we don't have control over what time ICE decides to leave and how many stops they're going to make, et cetera. So sometimes you might be waiting for a couple of hours. So that's when we get to be learning more about each other and helping with the setup and just, praying for these people, for their safety and for their travel. So patience, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
So, I mean, there are, if you are the person who needs, like, I need to know that it will be these 2 hours, or I need to know what it's like, that's where some of the donations pieces are very predictable and that kind of thing. And the other piece around the buses is not, because it's human behavior. And you never know how ICE takes 6 hours to get from El Paso to here, but there have been weeks that they did. So,
And
it is what it is.
the day that the bus arrives, if you're not ready for pure chaos, then
Yeah.
you can wait until the next day, because we don't even know what languages we need. We don't know any of that until they come off the bus. And do they speak English? Maybe, but many of them, almost all of them, do not. Yeah. We were pleased with a Turkish family. One of the Turkish families spoke English relatively well. But that's not a given. It's never a given. So
one thing I've loved with working with Astarte is she says calm is key. And she said, if you need to go out to your car and go blah, and then come back in, and she said, if I need to, you tell me, but like to stay calm and the respect that these are people who have been treated like, they've been in detention, they've been treated as criminals, and that we want to treat them with as much dignity and respect. They are grown adults who have done some pretty amazing things to get to us. And so even though they're really dependent on us, we can try to treat them with as much dignity as possible as we provide the food and the clothes that they need. So, any other questions? I know, we can just talk and talk. We are trying to do every other week with the beta team. So we're kind of working on getting a second volunteer group. So we'd, invite you to sign up and work with us. And we're not going to receive a bus this week because the start day's working out some things, but we're hoping that it's every other week. And
the first team, they get it.
The first team does the one,
every other week.
So we're filling in
we want to
between.
try and fill in the other weeks so that we have somebody coming once a week, a bus coming once a week. And again, they don't stay here very long. They find their sponsors, they get their tickets, and they're out of here as quickly as they can. And I can't blame them. When I'm going somewhere, I like to know where, is there a hotel or whatever? This is not the place I want to be for that short period of time, but they do have hot showers, they have beds,
Hot food.
they get fed, and that's an important thing. Smiles are universal, and when you do smile, it helps you relax, but also it helps the other folks relax too. So, and the language thing, we get around it somehow, which is a blessing. Smiles work a lot. So
absolutely, just basic kindness.
yeah.
Yeah, because
Your
you can
eyes
tell. I
smile.
can tell you're smiling now, right? You can tell how people are approaching you. On our team right now, masks are optional. Some of the volunteers wear them. We offer them to the people, but most have not worn them. And that's kind of just that's where we
CDC
are right
guidelines.
now. That's where we're following CDC guidelines and not asking more of them.
So let me just tell you a little bit about health. We have a couple of nurses and some doctors. It's not a formal full exam or anything. What we do is we just kind of eyeball the people that are standing in the lobby waiting to get their room. And for instance, there was a crying out of control toddler, and I thought, well, let me just, check, make sure we're okay. And as soon as Mama picked up the baby, he calmed down, and I could pat him and look at him, and he was fine. He was probably dehydrated and tired, so that's why we make sure the minute they get off the bus, we hydrate them. We only do COVID testing if the asylum seeker requests it, or if we feel that there is a medical need. We also do rounds. Once they're in their rooms, we do rounds and ask them, have you spoken to intake? Yes, we check that off. Have you gotten your clothing? Yes, they check that off. And do you need to see a doctor or a nurse? Oh, they have a headache. So we give them something for their headache, or the baby has a cough, so we can give them that. But as far as a full-time blown physical, we are not doing that. Our goal is to treat them like human beings, and their choice is, do they have to wear masks? They don't have to, but we suggest it. Do they have to have a COVID test? No, they don't have to. They're in the United States now. They have free choice, and so we're treating them like we treat each other.
And we have to remind them that they are no longer in detention. So once they get off the bus, they are as free as they can be.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah.
How long were they in detention?
I actually don't know, but it's at least a week.
Is it? See, I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd say it's at least 30 days because there's so many people that are waiting.
And they, so parents and children under 18, they will keep together. If you arrive at the border with your son who is 19, they will take him off and process him completely separately. So we've had people come through, like I was with my mother and I was separated from her at the border and I don't know where she is anymore. Unless you are a family unit, they just separate you. And so then those people are, well, did mom make it? Is mom in where our sponsor is? Is mom in some other shelter? It's really
We actually
it's a very
mom down in
found mom?
Las Cruces.
So
She didn't speak English.
It's a kind of part of it for me is just the inhumane way that this all starts. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad what people have been through. And the other piece is just, we really do. We need the volunteer help. Astarte's job is to work her way out of a job to get enough volunteers that we could run this beta every other week entirely on a volunteer. And then maybe Astarte will go start a whole nother. Ruben Garcia is saying this is going to get more and more. Right now, so as of May, the United States would only allow people from like Venezuela, Cuba, families from Haiti, but not single men. Turkey and Ukraine and Russia are in there, but there's a very limited number of countries where we're allowing people. And as some of those, you may have heard of Title 42, as some of those restrictions are lifted, there are people who've been waiting, and there's going to be, what is going to happen to those folks if we don't have shelter to help them?
Bless you.
It's, so we are really looking at, if we can get this one going, get a volunteer group, and we're working every other week, then maybe Astarte will go start up something else, in another place. We're hoping that it will grow. We're trying to take that call from Ruben Garcia that to step up and help in the city here. So we're working with the Lutherans, trying to pull something together here.
Yeah.
Paul.
A little process question. So if we sign up to volunteer, how do we identify or be assigned to a specific task?
Okay, what I'm going to leave with Will is volunteer job descriptions. So you can print that up, and then I'm also going to leave a volunteer sign up. And then, Will, if you can get that to me, I'd appreciate it. And then we're going to leave also more of the handouts for the donation center, and then just a little bit about facts about helping the asylum seeker. What is an asylum seeker? Why are they in Albuquerque? And it has my phone number or email and Patrick's email, and I'm sure everybody
You
has
can find me.
Kristen's. Yeah,
All
do.
Saints.
So I'm leaving a whole bunch of information with you. We just hope that you or some friends would consider signing up for volunteering. If you decide that you want to have clothing donations brought to your church here, I will be glad to come back here and show you how to sort through things. What we usually do before we take them over to the donation center is we have another clothing center drop-off over at All Saints. And we go through everything. And some things just end up going to Savers or to Goodwill. Other things, we stack them, fold them neatly, make sure there's no stains on them, and then we take them over to the donation center. The donation center is the main hub for all the clothing, and so they're very busy there, and so we're trying to make the job easier for them by having it all ready to go onto the shelves there.
That's
at
at Second
Second
Pres.
Pres.
It's at Lomas and Second Street, just about. Yeah. So,
Edith.
thank you, Edith. Yes, Edith. Thank you. I was saying that. I'm like, it's something-ish. It's right there. And so what we have been doing is, like, about Saturday, Astarte sends out a sign-up Genius. I don't know if you've ever used that, but you just push the link in the email, and it takes you to. And so you can see, we need intake on Tuesday. We take buses on Tuesdays. So we need intake on Tuesday. We need meals and donations people for these times on Wednesday. You can just pick a slot. I don't know if you guys have used that kind of thing. And if you don't like Sign-Up Genius, like Patrick writes
email
it and
me.
says, just let me know when you want to work and I'll do it. And, we can work around those things too. But we just send up a sign up on Saturday and let people fill in shifts.
So remember, it's not.
Yep, and Paul still had a few more, so I know we could. The sign up Genius, that'll be after you've kind of signed up to be a volunteer and everything. Then Astarte sends that to all of her, volunteer core. Yeah, it comes to your email.
Right.
Yeah.
So remember, you don't have to sign up. So I'm on vacation next week. I'm sorry, you can't sign up. We understand that. We get that. So the more volunteers we have in our pool, the easier it is for us to staff for all of the needs that we have. A 4-hour time slot is what we're asking for.
Yeah. And at this point, training is probably just like I signed up to do food. I'll sign up with somebody who's done it, and we'll just train as we go. If you sign up to go down to Second Pres and tell Jan, hi, I'm new here, she will orient you and help you get started with it. So I think you still had kind of a few things about.
With regard to donations of, say, clothing, is there a place or a method you have of letting us know where the needs are so you're not overwhelmed with things that...
Yeah, so the list that Ray brought, Jan updates it every month. So there's stuff on there that is pretty much the required needs, but we can, or if somebody here wants to, I'll take on donations at St. Paul, that'd be great, or we can make sure that we get to any of you that are interested. I mean, I don't know how you want to do it, but I can pass it on to the office or whatever, but she updates it every month. So when we're getting always we're low on shoes, underwear, bras, all those new things. We just always need that stuff. And then sometimes it'll be we're getting really low on, I was packing a box the other day, and for some reason we had no size 4 or 5 little boy clothes. I'm like, Okay, that's an odd thing to run out of, but ran out to Kohl's and bought some little boy clothes. I mean, if there's a particular thing, she'll highlight it on that list.
And we won't know until the bus comes exactly
Yeah.
what we need. So we may need runners who go over to Second Pres and come back with whatever we may need.
Yeah,
So for the most part, everything that's on this list
is a current.
is what we need. There are some things that are bolded, like tennis shoes, the things that we mentioned, but, we don't turn, we don't need them this week. No, we keep getting them. And the other thing is we really want only what is on this list.
Mm-hmm.
It helps us if you give us only what is on the list.
Do you think if we have a coordinator here, that we have this list put on our
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, that we could have, I would be willing to do this, bring our stuff to All Saints, and maybe we've got some volunteers that would come and go through it with you, and then that helps.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, that would be great.
Absolutely. We talked a little bit about that when I met with my dad and with Paul. That is a bin here, but we've given our largest Sunday school room is now lined with shelves, and that's what we do there. So yeah, if folks wanted to come over to All Saints, we've got a couple different hours and are a little more flexible in terms of when we can work with volunteers. Right, this summer my sons have been Noah, Micah, you get to come sort clothes again.
Yeah. So what is your name? I'm sorry. Mary Thompson. Okay. Okay, Mary and Paul, all right.
At the office here, we'll keep track of these things.
Right, we can have a box.
Oh, yeah, and we have families feeding families and so forth. So she's aware of all the different things that are going on.
Right.
And you can bring the things to her, you can, we'll get copies of the material made, and she'll keep track of it.
That sounds great. Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
That would be great.
That'd be great. And when I sat down 2 weeks ago, Pastor Koppel was there. She is supportive of this. She said, "Oh, let's have a pulpit exchange," except I'm not here that weekend. So we sent Hal over to All Saints, and I got to be here. Yeah. So she's also working with us, and so that'll be, you all can decide exactly how to do collecting items and that kind of stuff. Certainly, my dad said, the two of us can help get stuff over. Ray said she can pick it up. We'd love to have volunteers over at All Saints.
Oh, yeah.
It's just kind of fun. You just get to visit with people and you're pulling stuff. And I don't want to keep you all too long. I know Clark said don't stay all afternoon because he's got his stuff to do. But if you want to ask more questions, we can just stay here. If there are any more that you really want us to answer, but otherwise we'll just stay here. Please sign up if you want more information or you want to be put on I'd really love to work at the meals or find out more about donations, let us know, and we'll get you connected.
One question I haven't heard yet is, why do we do this?
Why
And
do
the
we do
reason
this?
why we do this is because Jesus says so.
Right.
Of course, he says so in Matthew 25.
Yeah.
When I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was an alien in your land, you welcomed me. When you're in the hospital or in prison, you visited me. This is why we do it.
Can you tell he's a pastor?
I know, right?
So we are Matthew 25 Christians. That's what we are.
Right. Thank you all for being here and staying. And thank any of you who stayed on Facebook. Wonderful.